It's 1 o'clock, which means it must be time for another LRM podcast sponsored by Influx Insurance. Once again, we are at LRM Live 2026.
Yeah, and I'm Steve Miller. You just said Martin.
Did I?
You didn't say Martin, sorry.
No, I didn't. Oh, yeah. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Martin Domini from Land Rover. Yeah, I know. Never mind. We're going to keep it in anyway because that's the spirit of the LRM podcast. We are not a polished, high production value production. We just wing it every single week, and it's worked so far.
I noticed some people that we're going to invite on in just a second that have come prepared with notes.
Really? What are they?
I don't know. We've done anyone that's seen this yesterday, we've done probably 105, 106 of these podcasts every week, and this is as prepared as we are. So let's kick it off. We're in day 2 of LRM Live. The weather hasn't been as kind as it could have been, but at the end of the day, we're Land Rover people. We're a hardy bunch, right?
We take what we can get, don't we? And you can't control it anyway, so you might as well just crap on. And a lot of people have been. There's been a lot of happy visitors walking around, taking in all the Land Rover goodness, getting around all the fantastic traders we've got here at LRM Live, generally having a lovely time.
I'm surprised you still have a voice left. The amount of talking you've done in the arenas over the last couple of days.
Yes, Wayne and I, we've been hard at it in the arena, talking to clubs, talking to individuals, doing a Readers Rovers special, the Welcome Parade, of course, and Scale Matters Live. They've brought in all the little radio-controlled Land Rovers for a drive around. So, yeah, it's been a busy morning.
And, of course, we're only one hour away from doing the awards in the arena. So we spoke about this yesterday on live on this stage about what makes an award winner. And we're going to find out in just 1 hour, aren't we?
We certainly are. We have we've shortlisted a number of people we think are worthy and, of course, vehicles. And we're whittling down that list as we speak, and we'll be presenting those awards at 2 o'clock in the arena, so don't miss that. But for now, should we get our first guests on?
Yeah, definitely. We've had the monopoly on podcasting of the Land Rover world for, over 2 years, and we were waiting for a rival, and we have them. So better to meet them, really, in person. We have Simon from Underpowered. Sorry, not Underpowered Hour.
Oh, come on. Steve!
Simon from Powerful UK and Russ from Defender. And they've launched a podcast called Low Range, which you can see on YouTube.
A great name. And a great podcast, indeed. You say they're rivals, but really, there's enough room for everyone in the Land Rover sphere, I think it's fair to say. You nearly name-dropped Underpowered Hour, who are indeed an American Land Rover
I honestly
podcast.
don't know where the Underpowered Hour word was going to come from, but there you go. That's how unprepared we are. So, without further ado, let's get Russ and Simon up here.
Yeah, come on up, guys. Please welcome Russ and Simon.
We're going to put Russ on the wobbly seat. So it had a bit of an injury. The Salmon Sofa had an injury yesterday. The foot fell off and rolled down the road and got ran over by a Defender. So
some collateral damage.
Yeah.
But luckily, there's many sections of the Salmon Sofa left, stashed back at base, so we can bring it out fresh for billing at the end of June.
I was really surprised to see this still here in the beer tent today, because we kind of left it here. It's almost in the hope that somebody needed some fuel for their barbecues, you know. But anyway, we'll have to take it back to LRM HQ. So, Russ, I think we've known each other for quite some years.
Good number of years, yeah. 15 at least, I think.
Yeah, and in those 15 years, we probably spent 13 of those years talking.
Not consistently. but we seem to have an innate skill of chatting away and coming up with mad ideas.
Yeah, so I first met Russ, I think I flogged you some advertising in LRM many years ago, under your other brand, Gloucester Land Rover. So you're basically a long-standing Land Rover garage and Land Rover sales, and latterly you've got into trackers, haven't you?
Yeah. Defender. Saying latterly, that's been going nearly 10 years. So it's cool.
So that just goes to show how time flies. So 10 years has gone by, and Russ has developed a tracker under the Defender brand. In fact, I've got one of your trackers, and I have to say this is not an advert. Otherwise, I'd have to charge you X amount plus the VAT. But yeah, the tracker system and security is very important on Defenders. We touched on this yesterday. That came about by having something stolen yourself, wasn't it?
Yeah. We had a break-in at the workshop, and we do quite a lot of work for the forces. And some of the lads from the SAS come and helped us develop the tracker.
So if it's been developed by the SAS, I mean, I know you've got like 100%, you know, recovery rate. So Land Rovers, even with a tracker, will get stolen, but you still can boast the fact that 100% of those have been recovered.
Yeah. The weird thing is, if you wake up in the morning and you've seen a load of texts from your Land Rover, it's normally at sort of, as I say, middle of the night. They don't come in the day that often. And they used to, oh my God, what's happened? You just look at your phone, it'll tell you where it is, and you can go and get it back if you're unlucky to have it taken.
So one of the advantages of having a tracker on my Land Rover is when my wife has got the Land Rover and gone to work, when she's about to leave, when she says it's going to be late, I know I've got 20 minutes to clean the house before she's back, just so I don't get into trouble and put the dinner on. Because obviously, as a man, I'll just sit there and do absolutely nothing until I know last minute is approaching.
It's another sales. I didn't know that add-on.
So I get the notification, she's on my way back. Oh no, I haven't put the washing out or put the dishwasher on or something. So anyway,
yeah, I was going to say excellent selling point, not one I'd thought about. So but I'm sold. But
yeah, for the record, I'm not tracking my wife's every movement.
Sure. Anyway, Simon, nice to see you again. Not seen each other for a couple of years now. You were on the green mining trip. I was on my Series 3 on Strata, Florida. You might remember you in the L663.
Yep. So we took the Stig, our new Defender. A lot of the old Defender boys say, "Oh, the new Defender can't do what the old Defender does," and I said, "Okay, let's test it out." So some crazy Welsh boys organised a trip, and we did the Strata, Florida, and yeah, the new Defender did it really well.
Absolutely. I seem to remember a slight tyre-related mishap, but I had the same thing when I took the Discovery 5 on Strata, Florida, so I think it can be forgiven.
Yep, we got a puncture, we got some better tyres, and we did it again and got another puncture, and we're on our third set of tyres now, and touch wood, the new tyres we got are, but yeah, tyres are everything, and you're off-roading, for sure.
Absolutely. So you own and run Powerful UK, which has become sort of synonymous with modifications and upgrades for certainly the newer Land Rovers. So how did that come about, and what sort of made you branch off in that direction?
So we started around 2000, and so at the time we got into the L322 when that came out, and we were doing more sort of accessory focused stuff, and then into the Sport and the Disco 3. And when the new Defender came out, we took a punt and bought one, and just I think my enthusiasm for the vehicle and the brand just took over, and the more we found you could do with it. And what's really interesting is with the older model Land Rovers, we really needed to wait till the cars were 3 years old, coming off warranty, before people would start modifying them. But one thing that's been really noticeable with the new Defender is that people are prepared to start bolting things on, changing things literally from day one. And I think that speaks a lot about the Defender and the Defender owner, and there's a debate to be had, Defender or Pretender, and I'm sure there are a lot of people at the show here, but there's a lot of old Defenders here, but there's a scattering of new Defenders and roof tents and people camping, and when we first took the new Defender to a show, it was a bit, but I think it's much more inclusive. It's a new model, it's a new direction, it's a slightly new audience, but I still think it's a Land Rover, and
I think it's the same with anything. It takes people a while to come around to the idea of anything new, and I don't think the gap between Land Rover stopping producing the classic Defender and bringing out the L663 helped. I think it sort of became a bit of a, I don't know, it didn't build confidence. And when it came out, I always found people who criticised it had never really experienced one. Once you actually get inside and you drive one and you sort of learn what it can do, you develop a whole newfound respect for it. I briefly saw yours at Gaydon. It looks fantastic with the camping setup on it. Are you finding that that's the direction a lot of people are going in?
yeah, I mean, the lifestyle, I mean, you can drive it across the continent. We've taken it, to Germany and France and stuff. I mean, they're really comfortable to drive. I mean, when we did Strata, Florida, we got to the end of the track, and our hotel was obviously right back the other end of quite a long track, and to drive round, you've got and we were like, oh no, they said the last meal was served at 7, and we were famished, we'd been out all day. And we took that car and we were going down country lanes, and my wife was she was looking at the navigation. She goes, there's a shallow left. And we just hurtled that thing. The music was playing, the aircon was on, and it was just ridiculous. We'd been through rivers, off-roading, punctures, across rocks, and then we're going down these country lanes and we did get and have our meal on time. So it's ridiculous what the cars can do.
That defines a new modern Land Rover ownership. When people say they don't build them like they used to, well, there's probably a very valid reason for that. And modern Land Rovers, let's be honest, they do everything really well. I mean, they tow 3.5 tons. They do in excess of 100 miles an hour. They don't really leak very often.
If they could just get that 2-litre Ingenium to hold together, they'll be set.
Ooh, a low blow. Well, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you've mentioned the I word now, so now
we
gloves
went to
are
that hell of
off,
worms.
right? There's the DC word as well. So Russ wrote some notes, not me. So
Okay.
Russ has written some notes.
So this is his brain game now.
Yeah,
Russ wrote it.
Yeah,
must
Russ
be
wrote
okay.
it. So if Land Rover aren't happy, So there's one thing to talk about. So if you've got an old Land Rover, right, you're going to have your oil seals go, your diff joints are going to go, your diff's going to go, your prop shaft joints, and they're all relatively straightforward to fix on your drive. I know you guys run old Land Rovers and fix and repair them, and I've listened to your podcast. There's little projects you're doing, but the new ones are great. But if your DC to DC converter goes or your Ingenium goes, it's a different sort of world of pain. And so that's something that, would you rather have the oily repairable or, the DC to DC converter going where you've got to go to the main dealer and the parts start getting into big numbers quickly?
Or they're not available.
I was going to say, Russ, it's not. We don't like being mean about the new stuff, but we report it. We see it as we say it as we see it, and unfortunately, there are car parks full of cars waiting for DC converters. The owners are, paying good money every month to lease or finance them, and they're not getting the use out of them because the parts aren't there. Look, it's not fair, really.
I mean, that will segue probably nicely into something that we touched on when you were sitting on the bench over there. The cyber attack, that's put, them back a long way, hasn't it?
Land Rover blamed the cyber attack for some of it, and although we're being a little bit negative about the DC to DC, Land Rover have always got on top of problems, and I think it's on the 4th supercision now, the DC to DC. The first 3 were little fixes, but the new one, completely different part number and different guts inside. But the problem has been, we've had stuff in the car park since before Christmas waiting for them to come in. Yeah. And that's the big negative, more than the part, I think.
So running a Land Rover repair garage, what would you say is probably the biggest nightmare job ever to come into your workshop?
I don't know about nightmare job. For me, and a bit like Martin said, that if something's broke and you're not able to fix it because the part's not available, and the owner's paying finance on a lease or whatever it is, and then they've got to get a hire car or whatever to keep them running, that's a big hit in the pocket, and all because the part's not available. So the I word, the big mention doing
Yeah, sorry about that.
They're big tricky jobs because there's so many different things to seem to make that thing break. But other than that, the DC to DC is quite a nasty problem. With the cabling, they've bought this cable that changes colour now, and that 48 volt system is actually quite hard to diagnose, and where the 48 volt is stopping and not going to the right place. But what happens first of all is the car stops, or you lose drive or whatever, and that's that 12 volt system not getting the charge, and so then the computer don't know what to do.
Right, yeah. It's the complexities of modern stuff. There's no getting away from it now. I know, obviously, people yearn almost for simplicity again, and it just isn't feasible in this day and age with safety, security, efficiency, emissions, all that stuff. It makes it impossible. But
Nothing beats an adventure in a Land Rover, and our sponsor, specialist insurance broker Adrian Flux, agrees. To support your journey into the great unknown, they offer Land Rover insurance on all types of models. With cover in the UK and Europe for off-roading and green laning, they're well equipped to handle even the most rugged landy escapades. Call them directly on 0344 728 0417 for a quote, or search Adrian Flux Land Rover Insurance for more information.
But yeah, I mean, Simon, obviously Powerful UK, you're always developing new stuff, new stuff always coming to market. Very exciting to keep an eye on what you guys are doing. Can you drop any hints about anything you might have in the pipeline?
That's a good one.
Sorry to put it in
For words, right. To be honest, what we're really excited about is we know that Land Rover are testing a new Defender Sport. We know that that's going to be all electric. We're really excited about a new baby Defender perhaps coming to the market, and we really want to do, external molly plates and roof fittings and stuff. We want to try and do all that. So that's what we're really excited about. We've got the new awning, quick release awning brackets for the Defender 110. We're just releasing that for the 90. We have in the back at the office, we've got like 80 projects that we've got to get through and get CAD done and get tested and stuff. But one bit of news I got for you when we were talking about what we're going to talk about is, do you realize your show in just a couple of years is going to have 25,000 more cars potentially coming?
As long as they're not all broken ingeniums, we're okay.
And there's not an ingenium amongst them.
Defenders.
All Defenders. So yeah, Russ has been doing some...
I'm intrigued.
Russ has been doing some research. Your research, Russ. You spill the beans.
So between now and 2030, the military fleet is going to be defleeted, and all of those Land Rovers are going to be coming onto the market. It's not all going to happen tomorrow, so you won't have to get the show too big too quick. But over the next few years, and it is only a few years, those are all going to be dripped onto the market, and you'll have all these new Land Rover owners or some existing ones with another one. But it's a hell of a lot of Land Rovers that are going to hit the market.
Well, it's good news for us. And I mean, the Wolves and some of the military stuff has started to come into the market already.
Yeah.
I know just down the road from us at Withams, they had some really nice, cool examples for sale, in better states than others. But yeah, I mean, it's an enthusiast market that's going to buy those cars up. So if we welcome them with open arms to LRM Live next year. And of course, the Fest, the signs over there, 11th and 12th of July.
Yeah, I was on the Withams website the other day, and I don't know what it is about people that like myself, who like older Land Rovers, but I was more attracted to the ones where they had missing wings. Yes. I mean, and why is that? Why can't I just buy one that's already working?
I know it was a weird sort of, it's like Toy Story where that toy has sort of had its arms and legs manipulated and stuff. There's all these sort of Frankenstein, and you really want it to, they've obviously had a hard life and, given up their door for the country. You want to buy them, really, don't you?
You feel almost compelled to just go and get it. It's like, but who doesn't want another Land Rover project in their life? I mean, I personally don't need one.
You definitely don't need one.
But I want one.
You say they may have given up that door. They may have given up that door in battle because, of course, another big topic of conversation is there's 900 million up for grabs in the military contract that's being fought for between Land Rover and that's another I word.
That's all right. You can use the I word. We know about that one.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of Ineos Grenadiers floating around at the show, and when you see them, they are fantastic cars. And where do you think it would go if you were a betting man? Who do you think would win that contract?
I hope Land Rover.
Yeah,
and I think they've got more ability and production flexibility to build what the military need, and it'll be very sad. Another rumor that they're almost practicing Tata being the parent company with the Indian Army.
Yeah, I mean, in India are very, very good at keeping British brands alive. Think Royal Enfield and riding through the Himalayas, and Land Rover as well, and they obviously need to sort Jaguar out, don't they? But the British Army without Land Rover, I mean, could you call it an army?
I suppose, without being too cheeky, I suppose if Ineos did get the contract, it would bump up their sales numbers a bit.
Oh, that's not particular.
It's fine. We're going all in. It's Sunday. It's all good.
You can tell we're getting out of here at the end of the day. Our voices are going, definitely.
Yes, indeed. In fact, you almost segued beautifully there, Steve, because you said the word Himalayas.
Yes, I did. Actually, that is. And I spotted a car that's been there.
Yes.
Alongside the LRM marquee.
A very smart Borrego yellow Freelander. Let's see if he's noticed we're talking about him. There he is.
Oh, we have
here.
the nod.
Yes, the nod.
Of agreement.
Simon, thank you ever so much for joining us. Russ, a pleasure as always. We'll catch up a little bit later on. Thanks, guys. Simon and Russ, Powerful UK and, of course, Defender. Hello, Nick.
Hello.
Let's get Helen up here. Oh, Haddow, you can join us. Go on.
Let's join us.
See how organised we are, Steve. A seamless transition.
That'd be the notes that we haven't written.
Yeah, absolutely. As we say, we just wing it all the time. It's brilliant. But Nick, we've had you on recently to talk about your adventures in the Freelander, and the Freelander has made it to sunny Malvern.
It has made it again, yeah. It's done the whatever it is, 80 miles from my house to here, which is good.
Always a success. Yeah, good to see you as always, and we're joined also by Haddow from CVC Register.
CVC and many other various guises that I come under, yeah.
You do tend to just get stuck into everything that you can, and that's admirable. You're also pretty involved in the tea on the tailgate, I believe.
Yeah, I've run it for Devon, and I've sort of become the co-organiser of that carnage that's become the worldwide phenomenon with tea on tailgate buoys, yeah.
Well, fun fact for you, you're the first to book in for the Big Land Dragons Fest in July under the CVC Register banner, so thank you for that.
No problem. Always here to support you.
Oh, we love to see it.
And that is basically this community. We touched on this yesterday, didn't we? About everybody has their unique interests, whether it is pre-production Land Rovers, Freelanders doing big expeditions, and it's just fabulous to see. And no two Land Rovers are the same around here.
No, it's the same. It's that the brand is an umbrella for so many different disciplines, activities, whatever you're into. There's a Land Rover and modifications to suit that Land Rover that will do it. Nick, talk to us a little bit about what you've been up to recently. Any exciting trips?
Well, I was before I say that, I was going to say one of the nice things about these shows, I really enjoy it, is actually walking around and just seeing all the different vehicles, because as you say, there is something for everyone. It's it really is fascinating, and again the CVC stuff. I mean, it's I really enjoy seeing some of the cars that I've worked with over the last sort of 25, 30 years. And you think they've had lives in between, and here they are now on display, sort of as a tribute to what they were back in the day.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to see the range of different things. Land Rover, you'd think one brand, it would be pretty much the same, especially all being 4x4s, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Funnily enough, actually, CVC Register update, I did fulfill my duty as a Sausage Fest judge last night. A very prestigious award, and I was pleased to award Ron Brown with the winning sausage, a very nice chili and garlic number. And I was again privileged and honoured to be invited to be Sausage Fest judge 2026.
And one thing worth pointing out, that wasn't his first meal of the day.
No, that was a sampling platter, Steve.
Oh,
a
a sampling platter, right, okay, yeah. He'd already been eating burgers and sausages back down at...
I was very, very careful not to own the sausage. Well, yeah, exactly. There was this wine tasting.
And what, shows like this, when people get their kind of unique sort of habits and kind of creations and coming up with Sausage Fest that what a fabulous thing to do. This kind of that you look forward to next year and developing and evolving and bringing different vehicles.
The clubs do seem to have a fantastic ability to sort of find a little tradition. They make their own tradition and they run with it, and it's brilliant to see. It's a fantastic turnout of clubs this year, and loads of different people. A fantastic spread of Land Rovers, as we've already touched on. And the sun's come back out for us now, which is always good.
Yeah. So moving on, I've got to ask about TEW, the best Land Rover ever made or ever created. We spoke on our podcast you can search it on Spotify if you want to go into more TEW goodness. But When will that make an appearance at one of the LRM shows?
Well, funnily enough, I was thinking about bringing it today, but it was that thing where it's like tucked away a little bit in the lockup where I store a couple of cars, and was that really like get it out, and also the price of fuel. It's a V8 versus my little weedy 1.8 4-cylinder Freelander. So I thought, well, I'll bring the Freelander. But yes, you're right. I do need to get TW back out and get that V8 rumbly.
So for anyone that doesn't know, TW basically is built on a Range Rover chassis, 100-inch. It's probably the Land Rover that Land Rover should have made, isn't it?
I mean, to me, it was. I mean, that was the reason I built it. I've had it for almost 30 years now, and in my time, it's been rebuilt twice, but it's always remained as a 100-inch. And the last rebuild, which was in 2016, so 10 years ago, it was very much the intention was to make it look like a Land Rover that Land Rover could have built. So it's that thing where you look at it and you go, it's not a 90, it's not a 110. I'm not quite sure what it is, and
it's perfection. That is what it is. I was talking to
the greatest hits in one little package.
Yeah, and just the way that wheelbases change. I was speaking to the guys at Richard Chassis earlier, and they're messing around with different wheelbases at the moment, actually in the planning. So based on the 127 and the high caps 110s and things like that, and bodies to make their ideal of the perfect.
So do you will they do 100-inch? Because I mean, it's a Range Rover chassis. So
they've got quite a lot on the go at the moment. But one thing that they are going to unveil actually is, and I did ask if I could mention this, but they're going to be doing a coil sprung series chassis, 88 and 109s.
Yes.
So that's another whole new world, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And that was the reason why the 100-inch existed. Obviously, there was the original ones that Land Rover did for the Swiss and French Army tribals back in the late 70s. But the reason why the 100-inch was done as a sort of a private individual's Land Rover was because back in the early 80s, it was expensive to buy a coil spring Land Rover because, of course, it was when the 90 and the 110 had just been made. They were 2-3 years old. It was quite expensive, whereas obviously Range Rovers were at the time sort of 12, 13, 14 years old. Obviously the rust treatment probably wasn't quite as good as it is now, so as a result there were a lot of rusty Range Rovers that the MOTs weren't really very good, and you could buy one of those cheaply, strip it off, put this over series and series 3, series 2 bodies and panels, and then you had your 100-inch Land Rover. So it was, that's the reason they exist.
It's funny, we were touching on we had some of the Discovery 1 200 series in the arena earlier today, and we were talking about how they've gone from being basically an engine donor because the body's just rotted away and people can tip the 200s and put them in 90s and 110s and things like that, to now being a really, really desirable, cherished sort of classic. And it's great to have seen that sort of life cycle. It's great to see them come back around and become appreciated again. And I guess Range Rovers, for the same, like you said, the being able to harvest the V8s and the disc brake axles and things like that, they did get amalgamated into older models and, used to update them. But it's really interesting. And the fact that there's still that hunger there for, like you say, the coil sprung series chassis. Of course, back in the day, there were companies like Arrow that used to make them, and they became really popular for trialing and things like that. So it's great to see that sort of having a bit of a resurgence, really.
What do you think's next? Because obviously it's quite interesting wandering around all the stands here with all the sort of the bits and pieces that you recognise, lots of early Land Rover series bits, but obviously now it's a lot of Discovery 2 and with a few Freelander bits I've noticed as well on the occasional stand. But it's having a rummage around. That's again what I really enjoy is actually trying to work out, do I need that? Yeah, I probably do. And then spending far too much money on stuff that I shouldn't really spend money on.
The answer is always yes. If you see something and you're not sure you need it, buy it anyway and worry about it later.
You can always resell it at one of our spares days,
Shameless plug, Steve. I like it.
Yeah, well, that was a natural segue, you must call that. But I mean, a couple of the vehicles we said about yesterday that we saw like a complete Freelander Sport, totally original.
Yes.
And when you see things like that, and it's the last time you saw one that has been untouched, So good to see.
They make you look twice because they're not a regular sight anymore. When you see someone in such nice condition, it does take you sort of look back and go, wow, that's it's great to see.
And did you know that the Freelander Sport actually has slightly lower suspension than standard?
I am a nerd, so I did.
You did,
know.
yeah.
But apparently, it's impossible to get the springs there. So if you have to replace them, it's very difficult to find the sport specification springs to add another level of nerdiness.
Excellent. That's good. But yeah, you're right. When was the last time you actually saw a completely unmolested Freelander Sport? From 2003, 2004?
Yeah.
I've actually owned one of those, but it had them on wheels. It had the standard wheels being put back on, which is a bit of a shame, really.
Finding the right parts for your Land Rover or Range Rover shouldn't be an off-road challenge. At bmh4x4.com, we've built a smarter way to get you back on track. Our new website is now live, the simple, fast and reliable way to find the parts and accessories you need. Supplying quality parts for Defender 1983 to 2016, Discovery 1, 2, 3 and 4, Range Rover Sport 2005 to 2013 with Range Rover P38A and L322 coming soon. All parts are backed by expert knowledge, quick delivery and a 2-year quality guarantee. Visit bmh4x4.com, built by enthusiasts for enthusiasts.
The stickers that make it for me, the like honeycomb sticker with the red sport badge of bear.
Definitely.
Anyway, Haddow, has your hearing recovered from your trip here? Because I saw you at Gaydon and I was impressed and stunned at your ability to drive a 2.25 diesel quite that far. And I see you've done it again by bringing your little Series 3 to Malvern.
Yeah, well, it's sort of daftness in bringing it. Yeah, it's sort of recovered to an extent, or the sort of lack of air defenders and everything else. But yeah, sort of adds to the madness of it all. But yeah,
I was pleased to hear you do have an overdrive, so you could be deaf but at a slightly higher speed.
well, for the flats, of course, the hills, the overdrive is a complete waste of time. But the thought's there at least. Yeah.
I mean, if there was an award for smokiest Land Rover, I would be handing it to you now, because I saw you came in on Friday night, and it's not about how many miles to the gallon it does in fuel; it's how many miles to the gallon it does in oil.
Quite proud of that. Worked out it's 80 miles per litre of oil that we're working on at the minute. So yeah, it's quite an achievement, I thought.
Two-stroke.
Yeah, like
A two-stroke, of course, yeah.
an early hybrid, I think you'll find. It's dual fuel.
Paving the way within Land Rover's eco technology.
At least oil and petrol is really cheap at the moment.
Yeah, quite. You're probably spending more oil than you are on diesel, aren't you?
I had a quick workout last night and worked out that my 110 V8 is cheaper to run than the diesel. But,
Very good.
That's amazing, isn't it? So, what sort of you're part of the CVC register. So, talk to me. For those who don't know, what is that?
yeah, so a lot of people get confused to what on earth we are, because there's such a sort of varied mix of Land Rovers that can be a CVC. And effectively, it's for any Land Rover that was first owned by Land Rover for whatever purpose they wanted to use it for. Some are literally, company car goes out for 3 months, chop and change it. But some are royal cars, adventure cars, literally anything. Anything you want it to be that they use, it's a CVC.
So CVC actually stands for Company Vehicle Collection. I got so close and fell at the last hurdle.
You did call this podcast on the Powers podcast.
Yeah, I mean,
that was the biggest mess I've ever made.
I'm leaving that in as well. It is what it is. But yeah, company vehicle collection. And as you said, it spans a lot of different models, because at first you might think of a CVC because the registration numbers on Land Rovers mean a lot as far as that goes, their factory sort of origin.
As far as us very geeky people, we just walk down the street casually and go, oh, it's a CVC reg. But yeah, to the most people, there's a lot of people that are completely oblivious to what they might own. But yes, it's really interesting to check the sort of in your service history and what your reg is, and just, give it a quick Google. You never know what you might find.
Yeah, the history is a big part of all Land Rovers, but you guys sort of take it to the next level and really, it's like almost detective levels of deciphering what went on in that Land Rover as
So
well.
I drew a plan after this. I went, yes, oh, what did this one do? Finding out all of that. Yeah.
So we were talking earlier, I think it's fascinating. I think there's a lot of vehicles out there that people don't actually know what they've got, in terms of there are vehicles that have been photographed, that have a history, that might have done an event or a press launch as part of the Land Rover CVC. And yeah, I think it will be really fascinating that, you know, these cars appear out of the woodwork, appear on eBay or Auto Trader, and then all of a sudden people like Haddow obviously keep an eye out for these sort of things. And it's great they're being sort of rediscovered.
Having seen been subject to some of Haddow's eBay watch lists and Facebook Marketplace saved listings, I completely agree with you, Nick. He has always got his finger on the pulse and what might come up for sale next, and I don't blame him. But it's interesting to see, because a lot of the time it's actually quite an accessible, it always was quite an accessible route into owning quite a special Land Rover for that reason, in that they're perhaps not as well known as a lot of, like, if you wanted to buy a genuine Camel Trophy vehicle, you're looking at a lot of money. Whereas you could have an ex sort of factory Land Rover vehicle for a lot less, and it's still got that amazing backstory to it.
Again, another thing with like the Camel Trophies is there's a lot of the ex sort of training cars and things like that were just like, especially in the 80s, were just standard green and white Land Rovers that were factory plated and had a sticker put on them. And a lot of people are still running them about having no idea what the history of them was.
Yeah, and also a few of the cars, because that's the other thing, is a lot of them are very early builds. So there may be pre-production or job one cars that were built for the press launch, and obviously they are interesting in the fact that they're early build cars, and sadly a lot of them, because of homologation reasons, get scrapped. So there are a few survivors that somehow manage to escape the crusher, and I think that's what again makes it interesting, is they're rare because that batch has been destroyed because they maybe weren't saleable. And some maybe do get upgraded, and the component parts that there's a prototype get modified and changed, and they obviously escape and then and survive.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I was chatting to a guy on your stand. I'm ever so sorry, I've forgotten his name. He was telling me all about his early L-Series Freelander with the black door tops, and how the window regulator, he'd taken the door panel off and it had prototype written on the sticker on it. And it's these little things that have slipped through the net and made it onto the market, and people can snap them up.
Yeah, there's some really weird sort of little quirks that you can find by taking them apart and just going, oh, look at that. And like the early discoveries that have J written on the axles and things like that. But yeah, what you can find is just quite extraordinary, really. And half the time it'll just be some random eBay listing, or you'll see it in the road. It's like, for instance, our Defender Challenge car that Nick knows very well, that we came across through a person that used to tow their tractor about, and that was all it did. So yeah, the lives that they've lived after being at Land Rover is really quite interesting.
So that particular car, for example, so I did that event, which was in 2001. It was a Defender Challenge for about 2 or 3 week event in Spain, where it had media from all around the world came and drove these what was then the 2001 model year Defender. There were 90s that have been modified with wind shears, all bar, roof rack. So basically made into sort of Camel Trophy spec, but they're painted silver. 6 cars were built, 6 90s. I think Haddow was saying that there's 5 still on the road,
plus the 2 110s that are still running on the road as well. Yeah.
So and it's amazing, these cars. I took a lot of photographs, and these cars have been published in magazines all over the world, and they're driving around, and because they're not known by the client, so I suspect that people have no idea what they've actually got.
I have to say, when you brought that last year, wasn't it? It was last year, wasn't it? You brought it out along. I recognised it off the cover of LRO, because the Defender Challenge was on there. It might not have been the exact car, but the styling of the silver Zambezi silver 90, the roof rack, and all the little extras that they put on to make them look off-road ready, it sprung out to me straight away. And like you said, they're still out there being used by people, possibly even completely unbeknownst to them that they're such a special car. So seeking them out is part of the fun.
Yeah, it's all part of fun. Yeah, that's what we live for at this point. It's just trawling endless Land Rovers trying to find.
And if you have one and you listen to this, do get in touch.
Yes, so find us with wrong Facebook, or if you'll be on Instagram, send me a message or anything, and
there you go.
Any queries, then just let us know. We'd be probably more than happy to nerd you out about your own stuff.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you ever so much, Haddow and Nick. We'll catch up with you guys very shortly, and we'll welcome our next guest. Helen Tate Wright is with us.
You know your 4x4. You've chosen every upgrade, every bolt-on with purpose. So, when it comes to tyres, chunkier, wider, more capable for the conditions, you want the perfect fit. Not just any tyre, your tyre. That's why you'll choose 4x4tyres.co.uk, the wheel and tyre specialists, trusted by Land Rover owners and serious off-roaders alike. Whether you're upsizing, overlanding, making your Defender look the part, or your Discovery turn heads, we'll guide you to the right set. With over 800 fitting locations across the UK, from online to on-road, we've got you covered. Browse by vehicle, wheel size or brand, 4x4tyres.co.uk. The right fit, the right place, the right price.
Thanks. Hello, Helen. We meet again. How's it going? It's not raining anymore, so that's nice.
Well, it's not raining in here, is it?
No, it isn't. And it wasn't raining inside your Land Rover as I was slowly get more and more saturated interviewing you.
I thought I had the best place.
You did. You had the last laugh there. Brilliant stuff. Helen, you've brought, of course, Purdy, your 110 along to LRM Live 2026. You've been out displaying it along the front of the arena, and then we did a little interview with you. So tell us all about sort of where Purdy started, where the idea came from, and of course to where you are now, I guess.
Okay, well, Purdy, it's this funny story. You were just talking about people recognising number plates and stuff. We bought Purdy on eBay because, you know, why wouldn't you buy things on eBay? And she came from a scrapyard, essentially, in North Wales. And the really funny thing about that is we kept her original registration, obviously. And when I was on the way to Dakar, I got a message from this young lady who I didn't know who it was. It was actually on the train on the way to Charles de Gaulle. And the message said, "Hello, how come you're driving my dad's old Land Rover?" I don't know. So I thought, okay, that's a bit odd. I'll reply. And I said, what makes you think I've got your dad's old Land Rover? And she said, oh, my mum and dad's neighbours have just been round and gone, oh my God, there's this woman or women that are taking your dad's Land Rover to Dakar. And she said, and we don't understand what happened because we scrapped the Land Rover when my dad passed away and we're all a bit confused. And so I was like, okay, just give me until I get to somewhere that I can talk and I'll kind of talk you through it. So I had to say to her, yeah, we've got your dad's registration and we've got some bits of your dad's Land Rover, but it's not all of your dad's Land Rover. But it was a really lovely story, actually, because this guy called Des, and if any of you see open the door in Purdy, it's written on the door for Des at Dakar, who loved this car. And he had this car, and he was obviously known in his community for his Land Rover, and he had 3 daughters, and he taught all his daughters to drive in the car. So the whole family sent me messages all the way through saying, oh, it's so lovely that, Des would be really pleased that you girls are taking his car to Dakar. So Purdy, in my knowledge, started in a scrapyard in North Wales, and we bought her on eBay. But we bought her on eBay because we liked the look of her. And so we went to pick her up, and the guy lifted her up on a forklift, and the chassis kind of fell to pieces onto our trailer, and we thought, oh, we might have a bit of a problem there. So to cut a very long story short, we took Purdy to bits and we salvaged what we could to rebuild her into a car for Dakar. And we bought as much as we could to make up the bits that weren't good enough on eBay, second-hand bits. But rather than remanufactured bits, we wanted original Land Rover bits to kind of keep the Land Rover spirit. And we built her to Dakar spec, so she is a little bit of a one-trick pony now. If every now and again I do take it to shops just for, why not? Because it makes people look, and especially when you're trying to get out of it and have to clanker over the roll cage, it gets a few funny looks. But as we mentioned earlier in the ring, took her to Santana Trophy for her test event to make sure that she actually worked and she actually drove through sand and didn't fall to pieces. And then the Dakar idea has kind of been in my brain for a long time, I guess.
Yeah, quite an event to aspire to. It's yeah, I suppose I'm glad that you guys have done it, and I'm sure you're over the moon to have done it yourselves, because obviously it's been in Land Rover Monthly, and you documented the build up of Purdy in Land Rover Life as well, which was really cool. And it's I think probably made it seem, I know there's a lot of expense involved and there's a lot of sponsorships and things like that in the background, but a little bit more attainable to people who might, you know, be the next generation of rally driver, people who have watched it and read about it and listened to it, and they want to get involved but they don't know where to start. The fact that you guys have gone out, forged ahead, made those connections and done what you have done is really inspirational.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think for Marcella and myself, I mean, obviously, you know, we have this very heavy and exciting medal each. That's really nice. But I think the thing that would mean most to us is if we did inspire other people to go, especially the women. I'm not sexist, the men can do it too, but there's a lot of younger women than us. You know, we're clearly not 20. In the Land Rover world, and there's no reason why they can't go out and do it. You know, there really isn't. And if we can do it, you know, I'm 57 this year, there's no reason why they can't go out and do it. And they probably have more success than us, to be honest, in finding sponsorship and support. And I hope they do go and do it. I really do, because it was the most amazing experience. There's no words really to describe it. It's something.
You're quite you're very good, in fact, as following Dakar, updating your social media, and you've got a YouTube channel as well, which documented part of the build. So by all means, go over to find you on socials, on Facebook and Instagram, and see what it was all about. So where can people find you?
Yeah, so on Facebook and Instagram, it's Gazelle's Off-Road Team, all one word. And the car's called Purdy. So we started the channel when we started the build. So YouTube is Project Purdy, and it's Purdey, as in the character from, what was it, New Avengers, Joanna Lumley's character. So Project Purdy 110, and there's about 100 odd videos on there now, so you have to be pretty forward to watch them all. But it really does document the build from the day we got the bright red chassis, and then we took it all back to our shed and went, I don't know what to do with this. Where do we start?
That's what Steve did with his 90, I think.
Yeah, what during lockdown?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, what should I do today? Let's take my Land Rover to bits. And I'm still trying to get it back together since that day.
We are having a couple of days next week, aren't we?
Yeah, but this coming week, Thursday, Friday, this week.
Yes.
4 people, 2 days. What can be achieved?
Well, we'll find out, won't we? And
it won't be going to Dakar at the end of it. That's the fact.
Hopefully it'll be at Fest in July, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on me now because I had promised to get my project vehicle done. This time last year, in fact, I stood outside that very arena and said, this time next year, my Land Rover, if we finish, it'll be here. Well, I failed. So now the LRN Fest in July is the next deadline.
I was going to say, luckily for you, though, the deal was that your 90 would be here this weekend, and Jamie, who's Defender Restore, said his would be here this weekend, but he couldn't make it in the end, so you got off scot-free.
Yes, but we kind of like both kind of we're sounding each other out a little bit to find out how advanced each of us were, because we don't go into each other's workshops. You know each other from meeting at the show and obviously talking on Instagram. So yeah, you know what you show on Instagram and what is real, you know, but his is far better, far more advanced than mine. So
if the internet has taught us anything, it's don't believe everything you see on social media.
Yeah.
But we'll crack on with it this week.
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, we're going to get the spanners out and probably get the barbecue on as well.
Well, if the weather's like this, we'll definitely.
Clearly, we don't run on fresh air, do we?
It takes commitment to maintain such a physique, especially in your case. But Helen, so what are your future plans? Let me give you this mic back.
Okay, so future plans. Normally, when Marcella and I do a rally, we kind of get to the end of it and go away to think about whether we want to go back and do it again. We hadn't even got to the end of Dakar, and we were like, we have to come back because it is so awesome. Somebody said it's like type 2 fun. So when you were doing it, you're just going, what the hell am I doing? This is so difficult. And it really was difficult. And it's so stressful. And then you get to the end of it and go, God, it was amazing. It was so good. So we already said if we've got to think how we can get back, because it is fantastically expensive. But we can't go back in 2027 because Marcella has other things to do, and which have been booked for a long time. So she won't be available. So in terms of Dakar, our plan is to go back in 2028. There is a slight caveat to that. That's if we can get the funds in place, because we have literally run out of things to sell ourselves now, apart from my body, but I don't think anybody wants that. So that's for 2028, and that will also be the 50th anniversary in Dakar, so it should be a really good edition. In the meantime, slightly nearer, is we're going to go to Morocco at the end of September to do Rally de Maroc, and they have put in a classic category for the first time this year, which is going to be, it's affiliated to Dakar. It will be run under exactly the same rules as Dakar Classic. It's only a 5-day event only. It will still be a tough event. So we're going to go and do that. And we want to do that for 2 reasons, really. One, to kind of keep us in the public eye while we try to get funding in place for the next bigger venture. But also because with it being run under the same rules, we can test some of the modifications, the things that we want to do to the car and to our systems and the way that we manage as humans to survive that thing in a real life situation. So we'll be at, am I allowed to mention LRO show very quietly? We'll be at
Yeah.
We'll let you this once.
Yeah, we'll let you on.
We'll be there at the beginning of September, and then Marcella's actually doing something else because we never sit still. So
Washing their hair or something.
No, she's become
something a bit more fun.
part of a women's rowing team, and they're going to do, and I think it's called the Great River Race on the Thames or something. So she goes from the show to London to do this race, and then we've got to get to Morocco, and I think they have to be there for the 22nd or something like that.
Oh wow,
September.
full on schedule.
Yeah.
No days off.
No.
Oh well, we wish you all the best for that. I hope you have a fantastic time in Morocco, and
Thank you.
be sure to check out the Gazelles off-road team on social media. Helen, lovely to see you again and to chat
Thank
to you in the
you.
arena and to have you back on the podcast. Please give it up for Helen Tate Wright.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you soon.
See ya.
Well, there we go. I think we're going to wind down and we're going to rush outside because very shortly we've got some awards to give out to people in the main arena. So, first of all, I'm definitely going to grab a pint of something and then to rehydrate.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I might actually.
It
feels like the right time.
It's warming up outside.
Yeah.
The sun is out.
In the sky.
It's beer o'clock, I think. And then don't miss the awards at 2:00 in the main arena. So we'll see you very shortly. Thank you ever so much for listening, as always, and we'll see you in a bit.
Bye for now.